Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder, and in today's video, I want to just give you some of my general thoughts and feedback on the latest migration system, along with showing off some new visual aids that have been announced in-game for when the new update drops. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you throw us up, because it helps out a lot. So let's start off first with some of this new content, at least visual aid wise, for the new update that has hit. We're going to go here into the notice board. We're going to click on the halfling house, and you'll see here we have the update 1.0.26 War Reignited. Now we're going to scroll past some of the seasonal stuff because it is just seasonal things. We have season migration, which is the first thing, Smoother Route to Prosperity. Now this interface I like. It is kind of reminiscent of in Rise of Kingdoms and kind of some areas here for Infinity Kingdom. However, if this is an early mock, I like the simplicity of it. I like the information that it's providing, and most importantly, I like that it hopefully gives us a real-time immigration quota. This is something that a lot of players have been advocating for, and I'm sure Kingdoms would like to know how that number fluctuates, if it goes up and down, or if it'll only go down from, right, as though it'll never be a higher number, but it'll only go lower. The fact that we'll be able to see this in real time, I'm sure for the kings and queens and the management teams of Kingdoms, they'll be very appreciative of this. Also limiting off the upper limit force, which I believe is going to be that 25 million cap, that anyone under that can migrate into a kingdom as long as they have the permits, but they do not have to fall under the migration quota or the immigration quota, right? So if you had two people that migrated into a kingdom under 25 mil, it wouldn't go from 100 to 98, right? It would still stay at 100. It wouldn't count towards any points. You have the season immigration timeline. You have what season you're in. You have the kingdom. Also looks like maybe the division number, the king or queen of the kingdom, and then some status on when you can emigrate, and also possibly a personal cooldown timer for you if you've already migrated before. Moving on. We know that hero levels are being reset. That's already been talked about. Tactic manuals are going to be retained. And then we have the new season preview. So this is under development still, but this is for Season of Strife, right? And now this is where we're going to have the camps. You could see here there's 4. Will that be the standard number? Will it be lower or higher? Season duration is going to be 50 days. And then we have what looks like realms registered, possibly. And then we have something up here on the top right that I cannot make out. And then you have a registration open period. So the thing that I want to point out about Season of Strife is that, and I hope maybe they work towards this as a variant, where they will basically open up a number of Season of Strife groups, and those groups can house 6 to 8 alliances or whatever the number is going to be, depending on the amount of starting zone 1s. And then Kingdoms can join that group. And then when you're sifting through the groups right across your screen, you'll be able to see which kingdoms are in those groups, maybe what the estimated power is, or what's like the average kingdom power, right? Maybe it would show you something like that. And then you can choose to join that group or not. And I think the thing is that this most likely would give kingdoms an opportunity to join groups that they more equally power with and align with in similar power. And so I think that would be something nice. Now, obviously, yeah, there might have to be a way where maybe, you know, if someone joins as like a strong kingdom, right? Maybe you wouldn't be able to have like a strong kingdom if they're too strong, right? Joining a group that has like an average kingdom power level of, if it's like 10 billion, right? You wouldn't be able to have maybe someone that's like 15 billion or 16 billion join, right? Maybe there would have to be a margin of if they're within like 1, 2, or 3 billion power of each other, right? Something like that could be. But I think that would give people an opportunity, along with then now you're putting the ball in the players' courts for the kingdoms as the kings and queens to decide for themselves who do they want to go with, and also kind of being able to see like, dude, who wants the smoke, who doesn't want it, who's dodging, who's not dodging. You know, those I think would be, and also make for interesting storylines compared to what it is most likely going to be now, which is you'll register, but then the system is still going to matchmake you, or the devs will matchmake you, right? And even though the most recent KVK groups have been more balanced, and the most balanced that we've seen so far, which is amazing to see, will that continue? And do they want to keep having that workload on themselves rather than just putting it on the players? It's an interesting thought. You know, I for one lean a little bit more to like, just let the players decide compared to the system. But I would at least like to see both versions and kind of see what the outcomes would be from doing it both ways. Then we get to the custom mode that they have for Wheel of Destiny Forge of Light or Witches of the Forest. And we have improvements. So for this one, we know this is being tested in a number of kingdoms where you can see an easy way to kind of upgrade all artifacts and hero upgrades. And then we have the auto peacekeeping. Now this is kind of it's basically an auto battler, right? It says automate battles while online. So you get to select what target you want, the levels, your injury settings, which maybe is once all those troops get to below a certain overall or total health percentage, then they'll go back. Deploy legions, and then the number of deployments that you want to make, and then also saying how much CP you want to use. I, for one, am kind of against the whole auto battler because I think it just takes away some of that individualistic engagement and interaction that you get as a player, and it's also kind of a grindy progression mechanic that you earn things from, right? So it's not like you're just kind of saving time to save time. Like I could understand if you want to do a one-click for gathering alliance chests or something like that, right? Because all you're doing is just watching the animation. Like I can understand that more so than doing an individualized action, which is me interacting with the game in the system and then is garnering me some rewards, some progression, materials, etc. Quick actions. Quickly pick up supplies, replenish resources, and use speed-ups. So I wonder if this means that it either just automatically gets everything that you've already uncovered from Fog, or if you click auto gather, will it just go to one thing, collect it, the next thing, collect it, the next thing, collect it, and then you're just watching that happen on the screen? I don't know. For something like this, I kind of like the grindy aspect of you going to each thing because you're getting resources from it. But at the same time, do you maybe align this a little bit more with like the alliance chests that you just want to do a one-click gather all? I don't know. For this thing, though, I personally lean a little bit more on like I like kind of going around the map and collecting everything because it does help progress the account, even if it's a very small amount. And that kind of rounds it out for what they showed off in that. Now, lastly, I want to touch on real quick I want to touch on migration. So this is something, and we know because of the last announcement that came out on the official Discord, which I hope they announce this in-game as well, right? This was announced on the 14th. It's been 2 days since then, and nothing has been announced in-game. This is very important information. I hope they eventually come out with an in-game announcement. I don't think there's anything recent. If I go to my settings, we'll see here for inboxes, and no. Right, last thing put out was the war reignited, but there's nothing here about what those percentages are going to be. So hopefully they add that in. What I will say is that overall, is there a need to expand or to do something different with the migration system than how they initially set it up with 5K gems? No, there's not. All it really is just creating another paywall gated hurdle and hoop to jump through. There's really nothing overall beneficial that making the migration system more costly is going to do. And I say this coming from the standpoint of if, for example, they were to make it so every kingdom was able to have a pure gated accept deny system for every single player that wants to join a kingdom, everyone has to apply regardless of power level. It pretty much solves everything. You don't need to add in something like this, right? Even if you add in this system, the only thing it's doing is just delaying when people can migrate to where they want to migrate to, right? On top of that, sure, does it maybe limit some of the players who just want to go around and like hunt and do kind of rogue killing? Sure, maybe to a degree, but it's not as though the majority of players are doing that anyways. Will it maybe frustrate some people because they may have to wait a lot longer to get the amount of permits they need to leave? What if they're in a bad situation and they're not able to get the amount of permits they need to in a timely manner and they don't want to spend the money to do it, right? You're kind of ostracizing those individuals. What happens if they're in a kingdom where they're getting constantly attacked or zeroed, regardless if maybe they deserved it or not, and they just can't get out in time? It's one of those things where it stagnates and it delays fluid movement and flexibility in being able to move from kingdom to kingdom, which really, now, yeah, if you want to make the argument and say, okay, well, if we compare this to real life and somebody wants to move countries, oh yeah, okay, they have to figure out transportation, they have to figure out logistics, they actually have to go there. To a degree, yes, right? They have to, apply for their visa, whatever it may be, right, for immigration. But it's not as though they're in a situation where they have, again, I just want to point out, there obviously are differences in this case, and maybe that may not have been the all 1-to-1 ratio, that I'm not saying it is. However, when it at least pertains to in-game, I don't know, it just doesn't, I think overall it just doesn't really make sense to me. Do I get it from a business standpoint, which is like, yeah, hey, we want to be able to, make a little bit more money. I mean, it kind of almost feels like people are getting taxed, so to speak, right? It's like they're coming out with some kind of like state or immigration tax for people when they already had a system. They just weren't making as much money on it, right? So they just kind of upgraded it, so now they're making more. I mean, that's really all it is. That's not like a good or a bad thing. It's not a slight at the devs or praising them. It is what it is. And so, again, I just don't think this is going to solve anything that people think it may or may not solve. It's just another layer that they're adding on. And do I think the pros outweigh the cons? No, I think the cons outweigh the pros without a doubt. So, is it going to be, obviously it's coming out, we know that. The one thing I will give to them though, at least, is that the system is more favorable than the Rise of Kingdoms system. That is without a doubt, and we've shown that, we've proven that, and detailed that out in 1 to 2 previous videos. So that is at least nice to see as somewhat of a silver lining. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's interesting because sometimes I wonder, okay, well, if I made my own kingdom builder, would I add in some kind of system like this to make money? I think the difference here is that there's a big difference between adding a system in later in the game compared to adding a system in the beginning. And having that precedent that you've set early on, I think helps people digest it more if you just tell everyone up front, hey, we're going to do this, compared to you adding in kind of spending layers later on in the game. It almost just feels like it's easier to digest compared to it being more of a sour taste, right? A sour aftertaste, which to me at least is kind of how it feels like. And that's unfortunate because I don't think anyone really wants to feel that way. So to me, it's just kind of 50-50. Like, I don't think this is a major win, right? But I don't think it's like a major loss. It's just something I think is just a little bit more of a con than a pro when it comes to the overall game. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you guys think. If you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments down below. That's going to do it for me. Happy Father's Day, everyone. Take care.